Hello, and thank you again for joining us today for our webinar, Life After Snowden. It has been more than 3 years since Edward Snowden leaked highly classified sensitive information that uncovered a massive government surveillance program. While the exact methods have never been revealed, it is widely believed that Snowden himself was able to create privileged accounts and use SSH keys to do the hacking. So today you will join a very interactive live demo webinar, and you will learn the difficulties you may also face in managing your accesses, and how privileged access and identities are easily compromised. Last is how to prevent this happen in your organizations. So today we are pleased to have our solution engineer, Raymond Ma, to be our presentation speaker. So I will pass the stage to Raymond, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivi. Hi, so I'm Raymond, and I'm the solution engineer for the APAC region. So today I will conduct the live demonstration for this webinar, and just let me know if you have any questions at the end of the webinar, so that you can have your questions. You can type into the chat box in the GoToMeeting. So here is some newspaper that we cut in Hong Kong, that maybe in Chinese. So it is all about the Edward Snowden incident that we when in Hong Kong we discovered the Edward Snowden event instance. So many newspapers or medias broadcast this instance to the newspaper. And last year our COO arrived in Hong Kong, and the media also have some report on the Edward Snowden event. And maybe all of you will know that there is a movie related to the Edward Snowden incident, and you may watch the video, the movie before, and which is also on show in Hong Kong as well. So here is another international media called Perspective that reported the Edward Snowden issue. That reported that there is a impactful and powerful trusted insider that can do the Edward Snowden event or the instance. That means it is broadly believed that, like Phoebe said, that Snowden is able to create privileged account and use of SSH keys to extract the confidential data inside the NSA environment. So there may be ways of many security concern for many enterprise, because NSA is quite a very important department or build in US. But the point is that even a insider or a external parties can access to their system through the privileged accounts to steal or to get the confidential inside information without any notification or any aware to the internal security team. So because of this instance, we believe that the privileged account or the SSH keys need to be well managed so that you can protect your environment. And according to the media, that the international media, there is a few of questions that enterprise need to take into considerations. For example, where are the privileged account located? So most of the enterprise will know that their privileged account may be located in their Active Directory. So is it all of the privileged account being located? Is it all in Active Directory? So of course, most of you may know that, like the Edward Snowden cases, the privileged account is not exactly or always located in Active Directory. It may be located in the system itself. For example, for SSH keys, it has another way to deliver the privileged accounts. And I will have more demonstration or discussion on this part later on. Moreover, in the APAC region, we know that there is getting popular that more contractors or third parties can access their privileged account to log in their internal systems for many of purpose. For example, the maintenance support or the configuration change or the change management. So even third parties or contractors can get their privileged account and do their daily jobs. And what if they get the accounts and do some nasty jobs? So there is no way to control or to prevent. Moreover, what is the risk of the privileged account being used by an external hacker? So what I said before, maybe you know that most of your privileged accounts are located in Active Directory. So what else if hackers know the protocol very well, like they can utilize the SSH protocol, the secure shell protocol, they can deploy or they can deliver the privileged account to the system. They can bypass all your control parameter, like your firewall, your Active Directory, some of them. And I will explain it later on. So before jumping into the next slide or the demonstration, please get aware of those questions and think of your enterprise environment. Is that your enterprise also got those questions or those problems? But of course, in this webinar, we will tell you how to prevent, how to protect it. So in these 2 years, many enterprises are looking for many different security solutions because the attack or the hackers are getting more sophisticated in the market. And one of the popular solutions in the market is called APT, Advanced Persistent Threat. So most of you guys may know the brand called maybe FireEye, the Trend Micro solution for protecting the APT attack. But I believe that most of you guys haven't heard of the APT on the SSH through SSH Secure Shell protocol. So here is one of the diagram that can show you the APT attack through SSH. So first of all, how can the attacker bypass the firewall parameter or the enterprise parameter to get into the enterprise network environment to extract the confidential data? So first of all, in many enterprises, many of the protocols will be opened in the firewall parameter. For example, the secure shell or the port number 22. So in view of this, hackers can rely on the secure shell protocol to do some attack through the secure shell protocol. For example, if the hacker can establish a SSH server in the internet, and then if they can through whatever way to put the keys into the enterprise environment, they can establish a secure shell tunnel to bypass the firewall. So it is the first one that the hacker can do to bypass the firewall parameter. So the second way is once the hacker can bypass the security parameter, how can the hacker to get the confidential data in the system or the user side? So here you can see in terms of SSH or the secure shell protocol, one of the privileged accounts that can be provisioned or can be delivered is through the SSH keys. So here you can see once the hacker can compromise one of the root keys in one of the servers, like here you can see once the hacker can get the root access to this server, it can rely on this privileged account or the SSH keys to compromise the rest of the enterprise environment so that he can get whatever he wants. And of course, you may think that, is that easy to provision SSH keys, or is that very easy to so that the hacker can log into the system? And I can tell you that it is the case. And I will show you how easy it is in the later on slides. So I just show you that hackers can rely on SSH keys to bypass the enterprise parameter or the system authentication. So what is an SSH key? So in short, an SSH key is that it is a access credential, like your AD password for an administrator to log on to your AD system, to your file server administrator credential. So SSH key is exactly like a access credential that you use for your daily operation, that like a administrator in your Active Directory. But for SSH keys, the user can self-provision, and the key nature itself is never expired by default. It is the SSH protocol by default. So once you provision the SSH keys to the backend system, then that means the keys will not expire. That means even after 10 years that you use the keys to log into the system, you can still do that because the public keys will not expire. But of course, for your Active Directory, you can control it through Microsoft configurations, like you create the accounts for the Active Directory, it will be expired in 1 month or a quarterly basis, and the users need to change the password maybe yearly or monthly, something like that. But for SSH keys, it's very easy to do the provision, and the huge problem is that it will not expire. So please take into account that the SSH keys may be very useful for many automation jobs, for user authentication, but the problem may be very huge if you are not very well managed of the SSH keys. So how SSH keys look like? So SSH key in concept, they are always come with a pair relationship. So there is a public key and there is a private key. So public key looks like a lock, like your home, there is a door with a lock. So it serves like a lock for public key. And private key serves like the key for the lock. So once you get the private key, you can open the door to the public key. So that means once you provision the public key to the system, then you can rely on the private key to log on to the system without any passwords. You just only need to present the private key to the system, and the system will read your private key and match to the public key and see if they are mathematically in a pair relationship, so that you can log into the system. So here is the basic concept of the SSH keys. So in the coming slides or in the coming session, I will jump into the real-life demonstration to show you how Edward Snowden to do the hackings to the NSA environments to steal the confidential data. So I just tell you that SSH key looks like this. So in a systems, how can you do the SSH authentication to a server? So here is a very simple example to show you the use of SSH keys. So for example, when I log into a server, like I'm using SSH as root to log in CentOS test server, is a Linux box. So once you type the login, or of course you can use the putty kind as well. Once you type this, the system will force you to do the password authentication, right, for the default setting. But for my configurations, here you can see that once I log into the system, the system won't prompt me for any password key in. It is because I'm using the SSH key authentication for the box. And for SSH key authentication, it is broadly by default implemented for many Unix systems like Linux, CentOS, or Unix, or IBM AIX, EasyOS. All of the systems are by default turned on for the SSH key authentications. That means once you provision the public key to the Linux box, you won't need to change any SSHD configurations. You can use the SSH key for the authentications by default. So here you can see that once I provision the public key to the CentOS test server, I can log in the systems very easily without any passwords. Passwordless, I can do it for the login. So how can I do the SSH login? Because I have my private key on my laptop, or I can type it to my SSH account. So here I can show you for the SSH keys, the private keys. So here you can see that this one is the private key used to log in to the server. So I have the key on my hand so that I can log into the CentOS test server to that specific log. So how's the log look like that I showed you previously? So here is the public key that provisioned to the server. So they are in mathematically relationship. One private key is only tied with one public key. So here I can use the private key to log into the backend systems. So here is an example for human to server for a command line configurations. You log into the server. So another example that I can show you is that you can log into whatever purpose through SSH keys, like SFTP, secure file transfers. So for Edward Snowden instance, it is broadly believed that the Edward Snowden have the privileged account and he can steal the confidential information through the SSH keys. So imagine that if Snowden is an insider, then Snowden can log into the system, for example, to a server. Then Snowden can publish or upload the public key to these systems. And then later on, whatever Snowden can do on the server, for example, he can log into the command line or through SFTP client to extract the confidential data in an encrypted tunnel. For example, if the user is using a Windows client, for example, I have a SFTP client that is developed by our company called Tetia. I can use this Tetia client, SFTP client, to log into the backend server. That is maybe a Windows server or whatever system for SSH server for SFTP purpose. So for example, I can log into SFTP to the server, but traditionally, you need to type in the password through the connection. But because Edward Snowden already published the public key to the server side, so for this demonstration, that you can see like the previous example that the user can easily log into the system without password. So it is a passwordless login through SSH keys. So for example, once the user can log into the system, he can do whatever things on the system, like I can copy the file to my local directory through an encrypted tunnel. So even though NSA or whatever sophisticated enterprise environment, you got the DLP, you got the IPS, you got the FireEye or whatever security portals, you cannot detect this behavior because the file transfer is being encrypted by secure shell protocol. So DLP cannot sense anything because the files are being encrypted in the tunnel. So in this way, Snowden can easily get the data from the NSA level without any notification to the security team. So here I show you the use of SSH keys and how easy it is that you can use, how passwordless it is, how easy you can provision the privileged account, the SSH keys to the systems. Does this scale to your enterprise environment? But no worry, because for our webinar, we have solution for you. So we have two ways to provide a solution for your privileged account or SSH keys protection. So there are two ways that we can do. The first way is we can do the prevention. Another way that we can do the audit. So imagine that user can use SSH keys or whatever your privileged account in Active Directory. So the two ways that the first one is that you need to do the prevention. What means prevention? Prevention means that you need to prevent the user from getting the privileged account for not right person. For example, for your internal administrator, the user have the rights to have the administrator accounts, right? But the point is that will the administrator disclose his privileged account to third party or to another user that not belong to the owner to the systems? So how can you do the prevention to prevent the user from getting the unauthorized access? And another way that you can do is that you can do the audit. So imagine that your environment have the prevention to prevent the right user have the right privileged account or SSH key usage. But the point is that, do you know what they are doing for their daily jobs, especially for some critical server environments? For example, your ERP system, your whatever systems in your environment, but it's very critical. So is there any way that you can audit their usage on the systems? So for our systems, we can provide the prevention together with the audit purpose. So here you can see that we can scan for the SSH keys usage in your environments, like the public key or the private key being provisioned in your environments. So in the coming 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I will jump into the real-life demonstrations on how we can do the prevention and the audit. So the first one, I will tell you how can you do the audit for your privileged account or your privileged user. So here is a product called Crypto Auditor from SSH. So from the name of the product, you can get ideas of the usage of the product, Crypto Auditor. Crypto means encrypted. Auditor means that you can audit, right? Or you can inspect, right? So Crypto Auditor means that we can audit or we can inspect the encrypted traffic, the cryptomatical traffic. So how we can do that? Because we are a man-in-the-middle deployment in the networks. So we can capture all your intended inspected traffics. For example, in this Edward Snowden instance, we can inspect the usage of the SFTP of the Snowden usage or the secure shell command mode. So for example, like the previous demonstration, if you still remember that Edward Snowden through the SFTP card to log into the backend server. And I raised up a question that even though you have a DLP, IPS, or APT system in place, you still have no way to do the inspection. But for our product, because we are the man-in-the-middle deployment, we can see that, oh, there is a Edward Snowden logging in through the SFTP to the backend systems. Maybe this server is a very critical confidential data server. So you can click it in, and our server can tell you that in this particular instance, Edward Snowden log into the server, and then it get to the access to the C drive, and then download the file called testfile.txt. Sorry, I should enlarge it. So here you can see Crypto Auditor can decrypt the SFTP traffic and tell you the way that Edward Snowden do in the encrypted channel. So here you can see Edward Snowden log into the C drive and then download the testfile.txt, right? So what else you can do on Crypto Auditor? You can, of course, you can see what's content inside the testfile.txt as well. Of course, it can be configurable because for some enterprise, that may be quite sensitive to archive the file to our product. So you can configure it not to store the file in our systems. You can only audit the channel and then tell you what files names that the user trying to download. So it is the purpose for the audit to the encrypted traffic. So once the user have the privileged account, they have the privileged access to your backend system, no matter through the password authentication, through the SSH key authentications, we can audit the channel and then tell you what the user did inside the encrypted channel. So here you can see Edward Snowden download the test file.txt, and the testing content is inside this file. So here is the way that you can audit for the SSH SFTP traffic. And of course, most of you will know that for SSH, there is also command mode, right? So take an example that here is a SSH audited traffic. So it is like exactly your SSH clients. Maybe you are using PuTTY, or like my MacBook use the SSH terminal. That we can also do the inspection because we are not installing agent to server side or user side. We are only audit the protocol. So whatever user using their whatever clients, we can audit the SSH protocol. So here you can see that the user log into the backend server and then you do whatever on this command mode. So what else command the user do, we call it to our system, and then you can play it back through our crypto auditor product. So here you can see the user log in and idle for certain periods, and then try to type the command pwd and ls whatever. So here you can see we can do the audit in crypto auditor for SFTP and SSH protocol. So what else privileged user will do in the enterprise environment? So nowadays, it is body using the secure shell for command mode to configure the switches or Linux boxes. And what else protocol the privileged user will do is remote desktop, right, for Windows Server environments. So for our systems, we can also audit the remote desktop protocol. So probably most of you will know that remote desktop is being encrypted by TOS. So remote desktop, even though it is maybe a video, but in the network traffic, it is also encrypted by a certificate. That means even though you can maybe sniffer the traffic from your core switch, you can't construct the video because it's being encrypted. So through the crypto auditor, we can decrypt the TOS encryption, and then we can construct the remote desktop back for you to do the playback. Here is the fundamental features of the crypto auditor. And because time limited, we cannot go into the detailed demonstration on crypto auditor because some features like that we can do the real-time monitoring other than only the playback the video. So here you can see, other than SFTP, SSH, we can also do the remote desktop auditing. So here you can see that we can audit the encrypted traffic to the crypto auditor. So what else we can do? So one day for NSA, like the Edward Snowden instance, they may find that maybe they think of some users extract their confidential data, like the test file.txt, right, that I showed you before. So they are aware that is that someone extracted that steal that file from the environment. So for the crypto auditor, we will index all the traffics going through our portals, and we will index it so that you can do the fast searching. So for example, you can do the index search in our box. For example, you should probably remember that test file.txt is being extracted by Edward Snowden. So you can search it, what user have downloaded this file from the file server through the encrypted channel. So here you can see, for example, there is an administrator logged into the system through SFTP to download the file called test file.txt. And here you can see we will highlight in red to show you that here is the search result, test file.txt. And of course, because of indexing is applied to all the encrypted traffic, so you can search whatever keywords that user used in a command mode. For example, there is a Wayman account log into SSH protocol to a specific system that you can do the playback. So here is the user log in to this system and type the ping command. So here you can see, even though it's a video playback, we can highlight the ping command for you to shorten your search period. And of course, like I show you in remote desktop, we can also search or we can also index remote desktop traffic into text. So here you can see when I search the ping command, other than the SSH protocol, we can also search for the remote desktop traffic. So here you can see that we can index the remote desktop traffic. But you may doubt that why we can do the indexing, because remote desktop is a video playback, or it is not a text-based, right? We have two ways to do the indexing. The first way is that we can do is the keystroke. So that means whatever the user do or type through their keyboards, we can index it so that you can do the search like the ping command that the user just do. Another way that we can do is OCR. OCR stands for optical character recognition. So that this feature means that whatever text in this screen, you can do the search. Like for example, here is a folder called SSH. Then it will be indexed. So for example, you can search SSH, then it will search the folder through the OCR features. So because there are many videos that I indexed, so here you can see RDP SSH. This one should be the folder name. So here is some sort of the results, because it's the remote desktop traffic. So here is the result that you can do for crypto auditor through the keyword search, because we can do the indexing. Other than we can do the recording, we can do the real-time monitoring. So here I just demo you the crypto auditor that you can do to audit your privileged account, no matter they are using password authentication or SSH keys authentications. So here is for the auditing. So what else we can do in the previous slide that I mentioned? We can do the prevention, right? So the prevention is that how we can prevent the user from getting the privileged account, right? So for your remote desktop, the user will log in through the Active Directory, likely. So you can control your privileged account through your Active Directory. But what if your environment is using SSH keys for authentications, no matter for user to server administrator login activities? And it's broadly believed that by our company that most of the enterprise using SSH keys is for automated process. For example, you have file transfer in the midnight from your branch to your headquarters. So it must be going through a automated process. The SSH keys may be being provisioned by your programmer or your developer to the systems. So there is even security team don't know the provision of the SSH keys. So while on our systems, we can do the intelligent discovery to your environments on SSH keys. You have nothing to do other than you need to import your environment to our systems. Like in my demo environment, in my UKM, which is our product, Universal SSH Key Manager, that I import 5 systems to my environments, 2 Linux box and 3 Windows environments. So once you import your box to our systems, in the later on demonstration, it will discover all the information as automatically. So for examples, is there any public key being provisioned to your environments? For example, in your Windows environment, like my demonstration before, here is a C drive that your public key is there. Like I can log in to you to show you the results. Like I log into the system at the back end. Sorry. So here you can see that likely the SSH keys, public keys will be put in .ssh or .ssh2. .ssh2 is the syntax for Tetia, that our SFTP server. So you can see the public key is always located in the authorized keys. Authorized keys is another jargon for public key. So the naming is the same. So here you can see there are many public keys provisioned in this Windows server. So I can just show you one of the public key. So here you can see this is the public key being provisioned to this Windows server. So that means once you have the private key on your laptop, like me, you can log into this public key without typing in any passwords. Or like my SFTP demonstration previously, when you SFTP log into the server, you don't need to have log into using the password. So for UKM, we can do the automatically discovery of SSH keys in your environment. So here you can see that there are many keys in your environments. So the first one you can do is do the matching to your existing inventory. So for example, once we do the discovery, we find that your environment has 1,000 of keys. But in your human record or your manual record, you have 500 keys. So the risk is very huge. You can imagine that if your Active Directory have one more administrator account that you haven't know or you haven't seen. So does it the security risk is very huge because the administrator account can log into most of your systems or with a privileged access. So public key is exactly the same as a privileged account, administrator account in your Active Directory. So once you have unseen, unknown public key in your environments, there is a huge risk. And another way that we can give you an insight is that, is this public key being used after provision? So like this public key is provisioned in January this year, but it is not being used since the provision. So in your environment, it may be surprised that there may be public key in your network, but the user may be using the public key without your consent. So here is the public key. And of course, we can scan the private key, the result of the private key. So one more magic that we can do is that we can tell you the authorization. That means which public key and which private key is in a pair relationship. So we will tell you that maybe another example. Yes, this one. Maybe the private key is located in CentOS 2, the POL account, and then the public key is also located in another server. Because in my demo environment, the server is the same, but in your environment, maybe it's CentOS 1, CentOS 2. So here you can see we can do the trust relationship matching for your public key and private key. So this private key is matched to this public key. So here you can prevent the user after publish or provision the public key to the server. You will instantly know that the public key is being provisioned, and we can do the alerting for the administrator. And what else prevention that we can do for the public key? For example, we can set the key options to these keys. Because for SSH key natures, once the user can provision the public key to the server and he get the private key, he can get logged into the server with the privileged access anytime. So what we can do that is we can create some key options to restrict the usage. For example, that we can restrict the user from access from a specific environment. For example, even though you get the private key, but you must sign in on this server so that you can log into the public key. And of course, we can have many other restrictions that we can do. For example, the time windows that we can do, for example, this public key or the usage of the key pairs is only limited to the midnight of the 4 hours of the midnight. Or even you can restrict the command usage for your SSH tunnel. So you can do the delete star command, or you can type in the erase all command, for example. So here we can do is the prevention of the key usage for SSH keys. So other than the audit purpose for crypto auditor, we have UKM, Universal SSH Key Managers, to do the SSH key discovery and the management. So because time is very limited, so here is come to the end of my real life demonstrations. So lastly, here is some highlight for this webinar. So the first one highlight is the Snowden incident are happening every day. So of course, there is maybe not media to disclose or to report the enterprise environment that they have some confidential data or customer data being leaked. But I think the Edward Snowden cases is happening every day to every enterprise. So think of your privilege account, think of your SSH keys, how you can protect it, how you can audit it, how can you manage it. And another way is that have you enforced your network to restrict the usage of the privilege account? Have you audited, monitored the privilege account? Of course, that I demoed previously, our crypto auditor and UKM can help on top of this. Lastly, the message is that because the time limited, the demonstration is quite a bit short. So if you are interested in our products or solutions, feel free to contact us for details on the demonstration and the testing. So that runs into the end of the webinar. So here now come into the questions sessions. So you guys can type in your questions in the chat box so that I can respond to you guys. So during the webinar, there is 2 questions in the chat box. So the first question is, besides SFTP, any other encrypted protocol that we can inspect? So for inspection, we have the crypto auditor, right? So in the demonstration purpose, I just show you the SFTP, SSH, and remote desktop, right? And of course, we support few more encrypted protocols like HTTPS, X11, that we can also do the inspection. And of course, we can do the telnet inspection as well. But of course, telnet is not very popular nowadays. So I can show you one of the supported protocol in encryption like HTTPS. And of course, we can support HTTP and decrypt indexing as well. So here you can see the user login through HTTPS protocol. So for HTTPS protocol, here you can see here like a HTTP request and response behavior that we can inspect it, and then we can show you the result of the index. So once we decrypt the HTTPS traffic, here you can see all the request and response we will record it in our systems. It is not in a video, it is in a test mode. Because for HTTPS, test mode is more sophisticated compared to a video playback. Because once the user do some SQL injection or whatever coding behind the HTTPS, we can show you the detailed behavior of the traffic. So here you can see that the user using a MacBook, the Chrome browser to log in to a HTTPS server. And then what is the HTTPS server response, what the user requests, and then the response. We can tell you the HTTPS details for the HTTPS inspection. So the second question, maybe the last question is that how you can do a detailed evaluation on our products. So there are a few ways that you can do. The first one is that you can contact us for a customer meetings. That we can, no matter what your region is, maybe you are in Singapore or in China or whatever, we can come to your office for a set up a meetings. Or if you want it instantly, we can have another one-to-one webinar for your companies. So here is the first way that we can do is the meetings for one-to-one. And another way that we can provide the trial license and the trial version of our software. And I can help you to do the setup remotely or on-site to do the evaluation on our products. So it is the two ways that you can do for getting more detailed ideas of our products.
Okay.
So here is all the questions, right? Any
Yeah.
other questions, Phoebe? Do you know?
So far, yeah, we have 2 questions. So thank you very much today for joining our webinar, and we will hope to see you again. And then I also hope you can gain insights into how you can better manage your most trusted assets and encrypt traffic. If you would like to learn more, please visit ssh.com or contact us anytime. So thank you very much again, and then hope to see you in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you all. See you next time.